Justice now.
Obstruction
Justice
to
now.
justice. Obstruction to justice. Obstruction to justice. Justice now. Well, welcome to another broadcast of Obstruction to Justice. I am Ann Moals, and welcome finally. We are back on the air doing what we enjoy doing. Amen. And yeah, I let the cat out of the bag. I am a believer. I can't help myself but to enjoy the Lord. And one thing about it, we kind of keep things separate. Now, we have wonderful broadcasts that we enjoy on Sundays with another group that we work with, and we have a broadcast that will be starting back up and enjoying on Saturdays, and that's cool. But we have to also be able to speak up on a platform that gets to talk about some things that are super important as well. This is kind of what's going on, and this is what obstruction of justice is all about. Where we get to talk about current events, news, commentary. We get to talk with people that have something to say, and we're hoping to get some people on. We have some new books that have been written, and we just want to get some people on to talk about what's going on with them as well. But it's been a little while since we've been on the platform, but it feels good to get things going again. So here we are with our broadcast here. Now, we're just going to dive right in and get started on some things here. What I'd like to do is just let everybody know. I don't know if you got it, but I did. I did. Did you get your voter registration card? Voter registration card. It's going to be time to vote April the 4th. April the 4th. And that's coming up here pretty soon. It is actually next Tuesday. Yeah, I have a desk calendar that I still use. I like my desk calendar. April the 4th. So, what you should be getting in the mail is information about your voting location. The Jackson County here in the greater Kansas City, Missouri area. This is Jackson County area where we live here. So we get the Jackson County Board of Elections and Commissioners card. It gives the place where you are to vote. So the location of where you are to vote. You should get one of these in the mail. Now, they've already sent out the updated voter registration card. So I'm pretty excited about that. I have my new voter registration card, and they're going to have the polls open at 6 a.m. So it's going to be time to vote next Tuesday. Good idea to prepare for that and to exercise your right as a United States citizen, as a citizen of the state of Missouri, as a citizen that lives in the county of Jackson, and then of course the county has surrounding cities, and there's going to be different things that are they're going to be talking about that. Now, I actually have something about this vote. So let me take a look and see if I can share what I have here about what's going on as far as the voting. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, here. The issues. What are they voting about? Notice of general municipal election. This is a sample ballot. So this is kind of what's going on, what the ideas and issues that what's going to be on the ballot. So here we have Tuesday, April the 4th. There's a special election, the Jackson County, Missouri, and there's going to be a question on the ballot. If you live in Jackson County, it says question 1. So Here, question one, it says, shall Jackson County, Missouri be authorized to impose a statewide sales tax of 3% on all tangible personal property retail sales of adult use non medicinal marijuana sold in Jackson County for the purpose of funding community services and veterans support services through a dedicated special revenue fund and for other purposes authorized for the expenditure of county general revenues. Okay, so it's already started. They're wanting to tax this marijuana. It says for adult use, sales of adult use, non medicinal marijuana. Hmm. What do you think about that? Now, you know what we do here on Obstruction of Justice. We get a chance to chat, and you can definitely jump in and chat. Uh, say what it is that you'd like to say, and I'll read those comments. So, what do you think about the sales tax that's going, the marijuana sales tax? And in short, for people, marijuana it is, they're saying for medicinal purposes, non-medicinal purposes. So it's for the adult use. So what people do, they use it just for recreational use. Yeah, retail sales, and it is. I think that that's really kind of what they were looking to do all along. What is it that people use that that they can tax? They tax alcohol, cigarettes, right? So people also use this, and it was passed in the state of Missouri. Well, what do you think about it? You know, that's a big question. I I think that that was the whole purpose in the beginning was to say, okay, well, we're gonna tax something that people use, gas, all kinds of things, and here's something else that's pretty popular. Yeah. What do you think about the tax? hmm And this is what's going to be on the ballot. Tuesday. Okay. Now there are other things that's going to be on the ballot as well. You have the different cities. It looks like there is actually here in the city of Blue Springs, there's council member districts, council members that are going to be voted in. Looks like in the city of Blue Springs, you got council member District 3 that has more than one person. Now, a lot of these council members, committees, they have just one person. So it's kind of uncontested. People are just saying, okay, well, we're just gonna let someone else do it. I think we've been here before. Every time we talk about voting, that's kind of what we're seeing here. People are just letting other someone else deal with it, and then they want to complain when things don't go well. And there's some big issues coming up, even with the local cities that are needing to vote on whether or not they would like to have a dump close by near their city. You know, uh, those are things that these people, council members and the like, aldermen people, that's what they speak up, or they don't, or they sign the paper saying yes, or they don't. So if you're one to where it's like, okay, we really don't want this in our community, then you have to put people in these different local government positions that are going to vote for the people and what the people want. Mayor, looks like there's a mayor. Lake Lotawana is has a mayoral race, so that's a pretty important one. Now here, mayor for the city of Lone Jack. There's only one guy. So do you think he's going to win? He just signed up. I want to be mayor. Maybe it does take money. And we worked with a campaign last year that we gave what we had. And that was time and sweat thinking about it, money, the finances that were available to us, the resources. Big shout out to uh, Ross, Dr. Gina Ross. And, she ran a campaign for the U.S. Missouri Senate for the state of Missouri. And, we went through the process. But someone, she said, look, I want to be that voice for the people. And the people, some gave and supported, and some didn't. So here we go. There are some that are uncontested aldermen and still here in the city of Oak Grove. You have that. You have just different wards, alderman people. It's just one person. Nobody's going to run against them. I would suggest that, get yourself in a position. You want to make a difference. You're not happy with what's going on in your area, in your city. You want to make a difference. The personal property taxes and all that. I mean, here, 3% sales tax imposed. We're being taxed, taxed. Okay, I voted no for the marijuana. I just want everybody to know that, which I'm sure you do already. I voted no, but here it is. That was the whole purpose. Another way to get money since it's a popular thing to do. Okay, so I would just suggest that you get ready for next week to vote next week. All right. Now, let's take a look here at our next slide here. Now, the main thing that I wanted to know was, and I want to keep an eye on, and this is something that we're going to do on a pretty consistent basis. Want to keep an eye on what are our senators doing? The senators for the state of Missouri. What are they doing? Yeah. We voted these guys in. This Eric Schmidt, he's the Democratic, he's with the DNC, Democratic National Committee. Yeah, and he won the election. I guess I don't know. I said, okay, well, since he got more of the votes, funding, and he's been in politics, maybe he had a popular name because he already had a position here in the state of Missouri. So he had a popular name when he ran for the senator position here in Missouri. People are like, okay, well, we'll vote for him because we get it. All right. Well, what I wanted to know what's he doing now that he's in. What's he doing? We're going to come to Josh Hawley. And it seemed like it took a minute. It took a minute to find out what he was doing because it didn't seem like he was doing too much of anything right away. I guess we are just looking at the March, the end of March, and it seems like he did do start posting things. And let's just take a look at his website here, the United States Senate. Eric Schmidt, Senator for Missouri. Now, before when I came out here, this was January. I don't think so. February, whatever. I don't know if it didn't seem like he was really hitting the ground running. Just, didn't seem like he already had people in place or whatever. And now he's making some statements. So he has a Facebook account, looks like. And with that Facebook, it looks like he posted 4 hours ago. Let's see, thousands of well trained men and women were fired because of the military's vaccine mandate. As we're facing recruiting challenges, what is the Biden administration department uh, looks like Department of Defense doing to recruit those individuals back? And he says nothing. I think that's a pretty valid question. He's pretty much that he's on his job to ask that question. What really did happen? Did they obviously they lost their jobs. He was there, military, having a hard time recruiting for the military, and he made that comment. So it sounds like he's on his post here. He's on his job today. All right. He's made making some posts here. The administrative state is completely antithetical in the vision of our founders. It gives unelected bureaucrats the power to enact rules that have the full force and effect of law and that can affect individuals and entire industries. It needs to be dismantled. Okay, well, this is a place where you get to come and check out what he's saying. I'm kind of happy with what he finally is picking up to do because I stayed out here for a while. Look, January didn't see much of anything. February, I don't think I saw much of anything. And here it is, March, end of March. Looks like he's posting and tweeting as well. So if you're on Twitter, not a bad idea to kind of keep up with what's going on because again, yeah, he's got a long road ahead of him. These senator positions, they last a long time. So he's going to be in this job for a while, but in 6 years, if you decide, hey, he's not really cutting the mustard, he's not doing his job, then you get a chance to vote him out. And that's kind of what this is all about. What do you want to do? You want to put people in position that are going to make a difference. And it's got a couple of numbers, couple of office numbers. Okay. So, I'm like, all right, Eric, sounds like you're doing something. And to me, that's what's important. Do something and do something for the better. Okay. So, of course, Josh Hawley, he's going to be coming up for his reelection. And that is, you know, I think people need to watch that too. I mean, we have two senators, but he's coming up for reelection, and we want to make sure that Josh is on his position. I think that there could be a better voice for adding diversity in our community. I don't. I know that you have the same old people and groups and packs and that support and say that they speak for the community, the diversified communities. But, it's going to be important, I think, to really work close with those that say that they represent the community and make a difference. Because, this guy just walked in, Eric Schmidt, he just walked in. And even though the others put up a good race, a good campaign, he just walked in and just took the nomination, took the position. Eric Schmidt did. So, well, Josh Hawley, he's here. What are we going to do with him? Is he going to get in another 6 years? What's he been doing these past 6 years? So, we're going to kind of focus on that a little bit. And Josh Hawley is with the Grand Old Party. He's that Republican. And he has his site out there too. We might look at him next time we come on. But yeah, okay, Eric, you got something going on, and that's a good idea that you pick up and do what you need to do as senator. Now, what are our local Missouri legislature doing? What are they doing? Now there is a House bill. The only thing that I found out there, and this is in a thing to kind of go into and take a look. But the only thing that I saw was that they had agreed on was one thing that was signed. Before we go out there, I do want you to kind of see here. far as the Board of Elections. When you go out and you check out the Board of Elections, and we've been here before, but going out and checking out the Board of Elections, you go to sos.mo.gov/elections, and that will take you to a place, a page where you can actually go and make sure that you are registered. That's important. Make sure you are registered. Make sure that you know where your polling place is. That's another one. So here, elections and voting, and explains what's going on with the voting. Uh, if you want to be a poll worker, I think there's a place out here where you can sign up. But John R. Ashcroft, the Missouri Secretary of State, he's still the Missouri Secretary of State. This is the place where you can actually go out and register to vote. So there are different links here that will take you to where you need to go. And it also talks about absentee voting. Now, we also talked about last time when it came to the vote. I think these are just important issues. When it came to the vote, we talked about the party affiliation form. Yeah, party affiliation form. So the political party affiliation, it says that it's optional. You shall be unaffiliated unless you designate an affiliation. And this is based on the Missouri Law 115.155. And this form, let me show you what this form looks like. This is the party affiliation form that you fill out and complete, and you get to send that in. But it's saying that it's optional, and that's important. You if you don't want to be affiliated with the party, okay, well, you don't have to be. But here, this form, party affiliation form, all you do is you put your name in, your address, and last four digits of your social, date of birth is what they're asking for. And it says pursuant to section 115.628 RSMO, beginning January 1st, 2023, the voter registration application form shall be amended to include a choice of political party affiliation. And then it goes back to the pursuant to section 115.115 subsection 2 RSMO. If any affiliate does not designate an affiliation, if any applicant does not designate an affiliation, the election authority shall mark the application form as unaffiliated. And, I was looking at what's the most popular, they're giving you the popular parties. They're giving you an option to mark as Republican or Democrat or Libertarian. Uh, there's others, yeah, and now unaffiliated. I think, the research comes in, well, what about an independent? Is there somebody that has ran for an office that, where they weren't a Republican, they weren't a Democrat, they weren't a Libertarian, maybe they were an independent. I don't see that. But here they only give you four options. If you're not one of the top three, then you're unaffiliated. So that's interesting. And that might be something else to look into and see, well, how far does this really go? Um, I haven't said anything, just personally speaking, I haven't affiliated myself. I think that, I just vote. And I think that right now that's just going to be what I need to do. Just make sure that I vote. All right. Okay. So we have that. And now voting is important, as we know, because the what you're wanting to do. You want to make sure that your area where you live, someone is making sure that you have what it is that you need as far as resources. If there's resources out there available, then your elected official is making sure that their area gets the resources, some of the resources that it needs to make sure that your life has amenities and is better. I mean, if the money's out there, taxpayers, we're all throwing this money in a pool or adding being taxed this percentage and that percentage, then we should have a voice as far as where that money goes. And that's important. That's one of the reasons why you vote, so that you can have that voice to say where the money goes. Now, I did put in a link here about the redistricting map information. And that redistricting map information shows where the districts for political the elected officials actually reside and have a voice in who their constituency is. I think that that's pretty interesting to know. So, as you do your research, and this is something that I encourage all people to do, do your research. These are just suggestions, and in my opinion, it is important to know and keep up about what's going on. Now, let's take a look at let's see if I got this here. Let's see if I can get this to open. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's look at this House Bill 14. I wanted to look at this because I think that it's important. So let me stop sharing that. I'm going to go up and look at this House Bill 14. Okay. Now, House Bill 14. Yeah. Mainly, this was the only thing that was signed and approved. So when we looked at, okay, what was signed, what was approved by the House, by what's law now, right? What did the governor sign? Because there's a paper trail of signatures that has to happen in order for this to become a bill. So House Bill number 14. Let me see what I looked at here. Now, it looks like it was sponsored by Cody Smith and it was approved on February the 27th. So, about a month ago, this was approved. So, let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look here. I got some things highlighted. I think the most important things about the bill was that it was really about finances and resources, about what the what it was approving. So it was approving really a budget. We're talking about money here, right? So the money, the taxpayer money, but also money and funding that came down from the COVID, the funding. So the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Here, let's see, my note says interesting. It did uh, it did fund from the General Revenue Fund. Now, this is the budget. This is where money is going. You want to know where your tax dollars are going? Well, here it is. This is what they wrote out. And we're looking at 20 million, but we're looking at $117,655 from the General Revenue Fund and from federal and other funds, $695,892. So for this, that's for the education, higher education, and workforce development. Okay, so you got 20 million that went to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and this for grants to establish school safety programs, including physical security upgrades. Now, we're talking about this is important because now they're mentioning, okay, here's money funding that can help with physical security upgrades. There's been a lot of things going on, and our prayers go out to the families again who were impacted by a school shooter recently, a few days ago. So what are we doing? And they say, okay, well, this is what we need to do more of, and they say gun control. Okay, well, security as well needs to happen. No one should be able to pull on a door at any school, pull on the side door or back door, or even come in the front door without being stopped and investigated. And here's money, the for the budget for Missouri here to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education for grants to this is a grant. Now that's something else too. With it being a grant, that means that they don't have to pay it back. It's not a loan. Most of us, we get loans. Whether it's credit card loan or whatever, all kinds of different loans. And that means we have to pay that money back when it's a loan, but when it's a grant, it's given. So for door locks, monitoring systems, I think that's important. Now, is 20 million going to do it? Well, how many schools do we have here in the state of Missouri? Uh, Door locks, monitoring systems. No one should be able to go up to a door. And this is kind of what I'm hearing is that they just got pulled the door and came in, you know. I think someone had to buzz them in, and someone should be have to buzz you in, and you need to talk to me. I need to see the whites of your eyes. I need to see the sweat on your brow. I want that good of a camera to see. Want to see what you got under your coat there, whatever. You're looking all bulky. So I'm not sure why that person was allowed to get in and shoot up things. That wasn't cool. But you have a budget that will help you, help the schools, give them grants to help with some of the security on that. Another thing that this is doing here is bleeding control kits and automatic external defibrillators. Why is an automatic external defibrillator important? Well, people are overdosing on this fentanyl drug and different drugs. You're making drugs legal and you can tax it. Now, this is for recreational adult use of marijuana. Okay, well, maybe they're thinking they're just getting some marijuana. I'm not saying that the stores are selling fentanyl up out of their stores, but I am saying that you don't know what you're getting sometimes, right? So drugs, recreational drugs are that's what's happening. And this fentanyl and other drugs can actually stop your heart and you die. And here, an automatic external defibrillator. That's what's going to help your heart come back. You have some safety and physical security, not just because of the drugs, but people are they're in these athletic programs, and I don't know if this is new, if these young people are just their hearts are just stopping. They're dying on the field. Their hearts are just stopping. I don't know if it's the food. I don't know what's going on. But it's happening. And this external automatic, and that's important, because otherwise you're doing chest compressions and, whatever. And this is a defibrillator supposed to shock the heart to come back. I don't know, but here it's a good thing. And the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is giving $20 million to do that. Bleeding control kits. What's that about? Okay. People are bleeding. All right. Well, here's something to help. And this is, you don't, with different different diseases going on, and people being contaminated. You don't, if you that person is sick, which is confidential to them, they don't want to impose their illness on someone who is having a bleeding issue. That's a big, yeah, it's a big mess. All right, to the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. Now, this is for the purpose of funding a state employee pay plan. And this is most of what I'm seeing. These state employee pay plans here in this bill is being raised to 8.7% for cost of living adjustment and personal services. So that department is getting an 8.7% cost of living adjustment. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. Okay. They're reimbursing mileage. Gas when it went up, the increase of that, they budgeted for that. Department of Revenue, again, people that work with that team in that group, Department of Revenue, they're getting an 8.7% adjustment, cost of living raise. Yeah. So these are things that are important in the vote. You have people there that are speaking for your community, that are really speaking for your community. We're going to really be focusing and paying attention to share some things when they're not doing what they need to do. Now, here's something that I found interesting. Missouri seems to have an issue with black vultures. Now, this is an animal, a bird, that vultures, when I read up on vultures, are like gross. They're just terrible. They're icky. They vomit, they poop to stay cool. They just, oh, they're just terrible. Well, we're having issues with this bird, and they had to put in money to help with the expense and equipment for the Division of Animal Health for black vulture mitigation expense. So they're trying to do something with this black vulture thing, these animals, these birds. I don't know. Sometimes when we think and yes, there is a problem because they're having to put money in it, farmers or whatnot. Vultures, I can't see any good that a vulture has, but there's got to be some good. Uh, and this is kind of what's happening. So that's money going towards that team, that group, to help them with that issue. Uh, Again, employee pay plan for the Department of Natural Resources, a 8.7% increase in their pay, mileage increase, important. Yeah, that's that's what's up. So, you got a lot of good things going on with this budget and with this bill that passed, but it's a money bill. Okay, we need these things, and the money's here. Let's spend it on what we need. And that's what your government official needs to be about doing, and of course with the interest of their area, their constituent. Okay. Now, let's see. To the Department of Public Safety for the Office of Director for the Crimes and Victims Compensation Program. It looks like they got $800,000 for the Crime Victims Compensation Program. They delegated that fund, that money, for that department. Okay. These are just things that kind of jumped out at me, things that I'm interested in. But, what are you interested in? Because I think that that's where it takes to get personal. It takes to get personal. What's important to me? If do I work for the state? You would ask, do you have friends or relatives that work for the state that really do need that pay increase? And here we go. You got it. A cost of living increase there. You're a farmer, you're dealing with vulture issues. So that's just terrible. Well, there was a someone uh, squawked loud enough, barked loud enough or whatever, and said, "Hey, I need you to do something with this." And because we're having a tough time with these birds. So they got money, and that's what it's all about, is to make sure that you get what you need for your area. Uh, let's see here. This one was interesting to me because for the department, this money went to the Department of Economic Development for a minimum revenue guarantee program to attract international flights to the state. Okay. So this was actually, it looks like $5 million has been allocated to that. Well, why is that important? Well, we just built that. Kansas City KCI has had its great upgrade to where it can receive international flights. So if you're going to build something, you're going to spend money to get it built, but then there's no way to let people know, hey, we're here. Bring some of your flights in through our terminal. That's what this is about. So the state of Missouri threw that in there for the Department of Economic Development for a minimum. This is to the Office of Administration for the Department of Economic Development for a minimum revenue guarantee program to attract international flights to the state. And it looks like some of this came from the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund, Revenue Replacement Fund. See, all right, so there's 5 million of it that you can account for here. This was something that's super interested. You guys may not know, but I can't stand drugs. I hate drugs. I hate alcohol. To me, is a drug. I hate anything that you put in your body. You're talking about recreational, because that recreational drug is addictive. It leads to other drugs that are far more worse, where it influences families for the negative. You can't function right. You're just in a stupor of drunk and high, and I can't stand it. Uh, but for the here to the Office of Administration, there was funding for that was given for the Department of Mental Health for grants to federally qualified health centers, certified community behavioral health organizations, and community mental health centers, provided that any grant awards dispersed from this appropriation shall be matched on a 50-50 basis by the recipient for projects over $5 million, and 40-60 local state match for the projects under $5 million. Okay. Now, here they're saying that if you have a $5 million match, we'll match you 5 million. We'll match you. It's match of a 50-50 basis by the recipient. So what is it? You need money. Make sure you have money in your fund. Now I'm hoping that there are organizations that can hold on to money and not spend it all, which is kind of tough even for any household, even much less a business, where you're able to match this. So anything under, it's a 60-40. So they do kind of go there and help out, a 40-60 local state match for projects under 5 million. So projects under 5 million. This comes from Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund, Health and Economic Impacts Fund, and they allocated 148,713,118. So for all of the uh, drug rehab places, behavioral health organizations, community mental health centers, where you're helping people do their best to kick the habit, there's funding out there, and this is the kind of stuff you need to have your ducks in order to be able to go get it, or be able to apply for it and do what you need to do. Now here to the Office Administration for the Department of Health and Senior Services, for the purpose of asbestos abatement and cleanup at a building formerly used as a school. located in any county with more than 12,500 and fewer than 14,000 inhabitants. So this is for smaller counties. Now, because a lot of times people will go and rehab these schools or buildings, and that will help with a place to where you can actually help people. Now they allocated $500,000 for that. So this HCSHB House Bill 14, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty interesting, and it looks pretty good. And I think that that's what's important. You want to know where your funds are going when it comes to your legislature. I don't care if it's state. I don't care where it is. You want to know where that money is, because even in your own house, you want to know where all that money is going. It shouldn't all be going to the Chinese food place, takeout, and I know we got to eat, but somebody should be cooking too. All right, that's just my opinion on that one. Cool. Now let's take a look. Let's take a look here, and we'll. There is there's radioactive pollution. There there's a lot of conversation when it comes to radioactive pollution. And we've been doing some research on what 5G is doing and different organizations. But I want to share, let's take a look at this here. Uh, this is a the push to rebuild the U.S. nuclear stockpile. hmm Now, there's been a lot of conversation. In the news, they've been talking about it day after day about the relations with China, foreign relations, other countries coming with China. Of course, Russia's still in at war with Ukraine and all of that. Now, the truth is that any nuclear response to any war issue is really a nail in the coffin of society. It's not something that is going to pass over and we're all going to get out of this thing alive. Somebody, even more people, are going to be sick and die from it. This radioactive pollution is something that's going on with uh, different places that have had testing and nuclear. They try to bury it. They should bury it in leak free containers, radioactive waste. Not all the time that happens. Okay. But I just wanted to go and take a look at this and take a listen at the this broadcast that aired. Looks like it aired March 9th, but it talks about, this is on National Public Radio on the broadcast All Things Considered, and by Frank Morris. Now, it aired and it talked about how since the US were behind when it comes to nuclear weapons, then they're looking to start the nuclear weaponry, start it back up. I just think that, well, let's just take a listen, and we can listen to this a few minutes here, and then we'll be done. We'll get out of here. Let's take a look, take a listen. The push to rebuild the U.S. the U.S.'s nuclear stockpile.
Russia and China have been modernizing their nuclear arsenals for years, but much of the U.S. nuclear stockpile is decades old. The government is now ramping up efforts to replace or rebuild thousands of nuclear warheads and the missiles, bombers, and subs that carry them. It's an enormous task, and as Frank Morris of member station KCUR reports, the hardest part is finding workers.
There's a sprawling gray factory on the very edge of Kansas City, Missouri, busy night and day, making parts for nuclear warheads. That's the door to the least secure part of this plant, Eric Wollerman's office. He runs the Kansas City National Security Campus, where 80% of the non-nuclear parts for U.S. nuclear warheads are made. It's painstaking work.
Every single component that we make is safe, secure, and reliable because it's going in a nuclear weapon.
And this work is picking up speed. From Wollerman's office windows here, you can see shuttle buses full of workers arriving from satellite parking. The lot is full. Wollerman says the plant's hired 1,600 people just this year, and it's not nearly enough. By fall, Wollerman hopes to employ almost triple the number of workers this plant had just a few years ago. That would be 7,000 people. He needs them, like yesterday, to help upgrade and replace weapons designed and built for the Cold War.
We've kind of kicked the can down the road to the point where, game on. This has got to happen, and it's got to happen now.
Kelsey Hardigan describes herself as a lifelong nuke nerd. She's at the Center for Strategic and International Studies and says this goes way beyond warheads. The U.S. is replacing all its intercontinental ballistic missiles, stealth bombers, and nuclear submarines, too. The price tag is likely to top $1 trillion. It's an enormous job that's going to be spread out across most of the country.
In layman's term, really, really big. You're looking at least 25 states plus the District of Columbia. But honestly, that is probably a pretty severe undercount.
And there are monumental problems. The supply chain, for one. Remember when you couldn't get toilet paper? Well, the government is having a hard time sourcing nuclear qualified piping and safety gear for a nuclear warhead core factory it's trying to build in South Carolina. Inflation is jacking up the price of everything, and then there's staffing.
They are facing a massive shortage of specialized craft and trade workers in particular.
Every bit of this work has to be done by U.S. citizens who can pass security screening. No outsourcing, no offshoring. And it requires skills and mechanical aptitude many Americans lack. That's where this workshop comes in.
So this is the Kansas City Engineering Zone, and it's an urban build space for 4 of our urban high school FIRST robotics teams.
Martha McCabe directs the Casey STEM Alliance. Today, she's minding 4 teams of brainy-looking high schoolers feverishly building robots from scratch. The shop is Spartan, no windows, just bright fluorescent lights and lots of industrial equipment donated by the Kansas City National Security Campus, the local nuclear weapons parts factory.
All this equipment. You have drill presses, you have lathes, you have a horizontal bandsaw.
The factory's lost many of its most experienced workers to retirement recently. It currently has 600 openings. A smart kid with a high school diploma, one able and willing to pin down a security clearance, can make at least $31 an hour, starting with lots of room to move up. McCabe says that kind of job can be life-changing.
Oh, 100% a path out of poverty, and not only for the individual, but for their family.
So the U.S. faces a major manufacturing challenge, rebuilding its entire nuclear arsenal. And that can't happen without tens of thousands more American factory workers willing to commit their careers to building weapons that almost no one wants to use. For NPR News, I'm Frank Morris in Kansas City.
So what do you think about that? I mean, it's just inevitable. Yeah, it's inevitable. Mm. Uh, and we see that, but at the same time, do you want to participate? Would you participate in making that $31 an hour? And I think that some of this area where they're actually looking to build and where they're working, is that ground really safe? Because I'm kind of wondering whether or not they cleaned up where they needed to clean up so that people wouldn't get sick going down there to work. And this is in the greater Kansas City area, in South Kansas City is where this is happening. And that was what made it interesting about this newsreel, National Public Radio broadcasted, was because of it being so close to home. Something to think about. That's kind of why I bring some of these ideas because I think about these things. Is that something, a legacy that I want to leave my kids, my grandkids? Yeah. Well, something to think about. One thing that I do enjoy is I like supporting small business, woman owned, minority owned businesses. I still believe in it. I'm not quite sure where we're going with it because there's, lots of challenges in everything that we do in life, especially with all of these big, huge conglomerates just taking and making it harder to do business. I think that what will happen eventually is that people will come together to realize that if we don't stick together in small businesses, and do businesses with small businesses, then uh, there won't be much of an alternative to purchasing and lifestyle as well. I'd even take it as far as start learning how to barter. Uh, you're looking at so much going on with the monetary system and everything. We just don't know, do we? But support businesses, support Black businesses as well. Go out there to ASBNC Training and Consulting, the ASBNC.com website. And, if you're short on not understanding how to work with a spreadsheet or build a database or anything that you would need as far as a skill set or tool to make your life a lot better and easier as a small business person, contact us. We'll get you started on something that'll get you a package going and get you started on some training that is super, super helpful. Definitely. We get testimonials about how things just work a lot better when they know what they're doing. Of course, that's with anything. To become aware with what's going on with different critical race theory, those books that are being banned from studying in different states. Uh, One of our partners is the Umoja Books and Products, Umoja Books and Products. You can go check out their website to see if they have that book available at www.umojabookstore.net. And they are super when it comes to getting books out to you that will help you understand what's going on. All right. Well, that's all I have. And I'm, just glad to, again, be hanging out with you. And when you're ready to make a decision in life, educate yourself. Educate yourself. Do your own research to think about what's the best decision for you and your family. All right. We'll see you next time. Justice now.